I've got one more thing that is even earlier in process. So I just want to go to that really quickly and then we can circle back here. So we were working with an executive at like a Fortune 50 company that is bringing Storytel in, and he was sharing this desire for something that we are calling dynamic smart chats. Now, let me try to explain what it was that he was asking for, because I'd love to know if this would be valuable to all of you. So imagine that we're in a collection view. And earlier I was showing you what the kind of like home page of a collection view could look like. And there's a lot of things that could be on that page. If I can't quickly get back to where I was, I'll just bail here because I just lost it. Okay. So for example, this might be the homepage of a collection, and you can search in the collection, you can upload files, and you can see recent chats, and maybe there's recommended questions. Well, imagine there's another section here, and that additional section is called dynamic smart chats. A dynamic smart chat is really a prompt or a question that you ask Storytel that has an answer, but it gets updated every time a new file is added. So it's almost like you're pinning that smart chat to almost like a dashboard page. And you're like, which of my customers is at greatest risk of churn? And that question is answered based on the data that's in that collection. But every time a new piece of data is added, the answer auto updates. So you could pin these smart chat, dynamic smart chat kind of cards to the collection. And you could also click into it. And when you click into it, you can see a history of, well, here's what the answer was 27 minutes ago, but a new piece of content was added. So now that answer looks like this. And I'm also, when we were brainstorming this with this guy named Brandon, we were also talking about when you're creating the card, you can also say, hey, I want to notify these people or these groups every time the answer changes. And so I just want to check in with that. How valuable does that feel?
I'll tell you, Drodio, like we make claims, right? So Sisters is the number one Black content on television, The Oval's number two, and those claims change, right? Based on when we have Nielsen data. We don't have any Nielsen data right now, but when hopefully we're going to get it back eventually. But if we had this and it can like generate those claims, you know how much like that would be such a lifesaver for us
That's cool.
to be able to do that. Um, I think it goes back. Yeah, we have to talk because it goes back to having the Nielsen data, which can be problematic. But to be able to do this with that would be huge.
How valuable would it be for the answer not just to be in text, but for the answer to be a graph or a chart or maybe text? And like, would you want to be able to define these cards as more than just a text answer? Would that be valuable?
So for claims, um, text is good because what we're doing is we're just Leah, have you ever worked on claims documents that go to like senior management? It's just basically like an email that kind of goes out and it's like, we're number one here, we're number one there.
Mhm.
Um, for that, they're not that interested in graphs. But when we're taking the claims and we're putting it like we're going through budget season, Jordy, and then we have to put it into a graph, into a PowerPoint presentation. So in the end, yes, it's important. But for like that quick thing that I would need, the you know the bullets would be good enough.
Cool. Okay. One more quick follow up here, and then Finn, I'll go to you. But imagine that you had a collection for each show. So like Sisters or DR in Detroit, etc. And then you had a collection for all shows. I
Yeah,
could imagine that you could have dynamic smart chats at each level where you have a question that's show specific, but then you could have a question at this collection level that's how do all the shows compare to each other? And
right.
data, from all the shows would be pulled from the data that's in each collection.
Yeah, like we can upload, let's say, the entire Nielsen data for the quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if the system eventually can read the CVS, the Excel files, then it can do that. It can take the rank for us. And like we massage the data at Rodeo. So like if I put everything in there, what we normally do manually is we exclude sports, we exclude kids, we
Mhm.
exclude news. By doing all of that, all of a sudden we become number one. So
Mm.
it, if it's smart enough to for us to have like these prompts built in or for us to put it could save us a lot of time because
Okay.
then it's just running it, putting it into the, I mean, what are you calling it? Smart chat or dynamic?
Dynamic smart chat. Although
Yeah.
that is the
Yeah.
CEO's name, and one thing I've learned is I do not name things
Yeah.
well. So if any of you have a name you would rather have this called, we would
No,
much
it's fine.
prefer if you pick the name.
I'm just being selfish and thinking, wow, if I had this, we have our monthly meetings with the senior team. How
Mhm,
quickly would I be able to run this and have it? And when we're in those meetings, if they throw a curveball at us, is the
mhm.
system smart enough where we have all of the data for the quarter or the month that we can run through it?
Yep. Okay. So much more to talk about there, Bears. Finn, what you got?
Yeah, I can go really quick. I think one of the tools that we use the most in the product team and at Zeit is like Amplitude. So we have charts, we have dashboards, and
Mhm,
we pin dashboard everywhere, like
mhm,
in PRDs in any file. I feel like it goes back to the one of the discussion we had in the past where Amplitude is amazing for quantitative data, and
mhm,
Storytel could be that, but for qualitative data. So
mhm,
I think it's every thread always has like one end goal, which is like, yeah, maybe show of all of these documents, pull like the number of like a specific quote or something being pulled. So I could see myself maybe have like, I don't know, current AI sentiment, like our current AI add-on sentiment as one card. If you
Yep.
want to know how the sausage is made and you want to click and you want to see all my prompts in it, go for it. But at least you get the output and I could share. So all in all, I think this is a good idea because every thread has maybe one metric that we can highlight. Either we pin it or we set up some intelligence where it dynamically pulls it every time we add data. But yeah,
And would you
PRD.
want to have a specific URL for each card where you could decide the ability to like embed that in other systems, like if you're doing a PRD or even publish it publicly if you
I
want to?
don't I don't embed anything in Amplitude today. I just say like, okay, in the last 90 days, we got 50K people using this product. Great. And here's a link. So if you want to go see the source, go for it. I don't embed it. Usually I just cite it and then I just put the source. So yeah.
So having a shareable URL per card, is that not a, important or it is important?
I think per card, yes, because you have the thread. Basically, the URL would be the thread
Right.
URL, as I'm understanding it. What I would love is actually URL for a collection because I could just per feature, for example, have different sets of data and
Yep.
just show like, okay, here is a positive quote, a negative quote, indifferent, and like on the
Yep.
same collection, I could pull different types of data.
Each collection will have its own URL, so you'll absolutely be getting
That's
that.
awesome.
And I think the reason I'm asking is we're trying to understand like how much would any of you want to kind of like pull this card from this collection and this card from that collection, and I want to maybe like assemble them all in a different dashboard, so it's kind of like a different view, or I want to be able to like reference just this answer. And it's a little bit different than going to the thread. Like the idea is, yes, absolutely, you could go to the thread and have like a full conversation, but this is almost like a little asset type, which is a
Yeah.
card that can either be text or a graph or something.
I think the thread is useful for the person building it, but whenever I share something like a chart
Mhm.
to the exec team, they just want to see the output. Like, great, this. 99% of the time, they won't go through each thread. They just want to see like the output of different surveys or
Yeah.
different documents.
Okay. Who else has any thoughts, hopes, dreams, aversions to this concept?
I would say that this seems like a very important feature. However, it might get lost if you put it in a similar way, like the
in
other
view?
sections. This could
Mhm,
almost be its own thing, or like
mhm,
something to differentiate it being, make it look like the hero element here,
mhm.
because
It's
that's where
actually,
you're doing
it's
like a
so,
lot of.
Kosha, it's so interesting you say that because originally this insights section was going to be the place that we put those. And I
Mhm.
think that's a really valuable insight that maybe it shouldn't just be a part of the collections page.
It could be, but it could maybe look different. It could, I mean, it should just maybe not be look the same as the others, because
Yeah.
you're definitely adding value here, right? So that kind of needs to come through in some sense.
Okay. Thank you so much for all the feedback. That's it for me. And if you have more that you want to bring in, I'm happy to stay on as long as y'all would like. But this is amazing. So appreciative.